So first news from New Delhi. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held bilateral meeting with his Australian counterpart Richard Marles in New Delhi today. Singh said that the meeting will provide an opportunity to both the countries to reiterate their resolve to further deepen the defence partnership. Earlier, Australia's Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles met India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The leaders discussed recent developments in the Indo-Pacific region. They also discussed the developments in West Asia.
Excellency, during our earlier discussions, we were able to identify areas and initiatives where our two countries could collaborate. I am happy to note the progress already made in many of these areas. Today's meeting will give us an opportunity to reaffirm our resolve to further deepen our defence partnership.
We want to be working closely together, but we see at the heart of the relationship as being defence. This year has been a year of firsts. We've had so many first steps that have been taken which have built the ballast of our defence relationship, and we are so pleased with that. It's been a high watermark of our defence engagement, and we are very excited about the opportunity of our meeting today to take that forward in the future. We see the defence relationship as critical to the whole bilateral relationship, and we see our relationship with India as being right up there as amongst the most important relationships that we have in the world.
Earlier, the Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles, who also holds the defence portfolio, was accorded the ceremonial Tri-Service Guard of Honour in New Delhi on Monday. He was received by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, and he also met India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in the national capital. Australia's Richard Marles and Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs Penny Wong laid wreath at the National War Memorial in New Delhi ahead of the 2+2 meetings. And on to the Israel-Hamas conflict now. Despite the ongoing fighting, US and Israeli officials have said that a Qatari-mediated deal to free some hostages held in Gaza was edging closer. My colleague Kate Fisher is in Washington, D.C. She gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Kate, news of some relief coming there of the premature babies being evacuated into Egypt.
That's right. As the Israeli-Hamas conflict enters day 45, Israeli tanks were seen stationed near the Indonesian hospital in North Gaza on Monday, although there was no immediate comments from the military about the situation inside the hospital. The Israeli military claims that they are targeting, quote, terror infrastructure in Gaza, and they accuse Hamas of fighting behind human shields, including in hospitals. The Indonesian hospital was set up in 2016 and has nearly ceased operations, but it's still sheltering patients, staff and displaced residents. Despite the ongoing fighting, US and Israeli officials say that a Qatari-mediated deal to free some hostages held in Gaza and pause fighting was edging closer. A group of prematurely born babies who were evacuated from Gaza's largest hospital have crossed into Egypt for medical treatment. The newborns had been admitted to a hospital in Rafah in southern Gaza on Sunday in order to stabilize their condition ahead of their transfer to Egypt. Well, DD India's Sarah Coates sent us this report from Tel Aviv in Israel.
Well, Egyptian authorities say that 29 premature babies who were evacuated yesterday from Al-Shifa Hospital in the northern part of the Gaza Strip have now arrived in Egypt. Originally, 31 premature babies were evacuated, although at this hour it is unclear why only 29 have arrived in Egypt. Now, this as heavy fighting continues reportedly around the Indonesian hospital, which is also in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Pictures coming out from the ground show tanks very, very close to that hospital, while people working inside say that they've had gunshots fired at the hospital. Meanwhile, hostage negotiations are reportedly continuing. Qatar's Prime Minister says that only very minor details need to be agreed, while Israel's ambassador to the United States says that he is hopeful that a deal will be reached in the next few days. Now, it is expected that around 50 women and children would be released from the Gaza Strip, with people, ladies and also children, to be released from Israeli prisons, around 150 of those people reportedly, in exchange for a 3 to 5 day ceasefire and also more humanitarian aid, including fuel, into the Gaza Strip. Now, this is very crucial at this time. I'm sure you can see behind me just how wild the weather is, and that is exactly the same case down in the Gaza Strip, where many people literally have nowhere to shelter, just a thin piece of tarpaulin potentially over their heads. Sarah Coates reporting from Tel Aviv for DD India.
Rockets from the direction of Lebanon have struck Israel on Monday. Plumes of smoke were seen rising from northern parts of the country. The violence is being seen as a spillover from Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. Hezbollah's attacked Israeli troops at the Lebanese border since the war began on October the 7th, and Israel has launched air and artillery strikes against southern Lebanon. A delegation of ministers from Arab and Muslim countries held a meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing, and they demanded an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The delegation included ministers from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, Indonesia, Palestinian-occupied territories, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Beijing was the first leg of the tour of the delegation, which is scheduled to meet officials representing each of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Meanwhile, Israel has said that Yemen's Houthis have seized a British-owned and Japanese-operated cargo ship in the southern Red Sea. Israel claimed the incident was an Iranian act of terrorism with consequences for international maritime security. Iran, however, has denied any involvement in the ship's seizure by Yemen's Houthis. Well, Japan has strongly condemned the seizure of the cargo ship and said that the government is working with relevant countries for the vessel's early release.
We have received reports that there are no Japanese nationals among the crew. The government firmly condemns this kind of incident. Currently, ministries and agencies, including the Transport Ministry and the Foreign Ministry, are gathering information and working with the relevant countries for the early release of the vessel and its crew.
To the Russia-Ukraine war now, and 2 people were killed early on Monday after Russian forces shelled a parking lot in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson. Kherson's governor said that they were drivers for a private transport business. The shelling on Monday comes a day after a separate strike on the city injured 5 people, including a 3-year-old. Well, as the Ukraine-Russia war drags on, US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin made an unannounced trip to Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, on Monday in a bid to show that the US's unwavering support continues and to stem Ukrainian concerns that support from its biggest ally could waver. Austin accompanied the commander of the US European Command, and he was shown shaking hands with the US ambassador to Kyiv in a photograph published by the embassy. Back in the US, Sam Altman, who was fired as the CEO of ChatGPT, the creator of OpenAI, is all set to join Microsoft, along with former President Greg Brockman, to lead a new team focused on artificial intelligence. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella announced on X, formerly known as Twitter, that Altman will be the CEO of the new advanced AI research team. Over the weekend, OpenAI's board, led by co-founder and chief scientist Ilya Sutskever, announced the removal of Altman, who co-founded the company in 2015 in an alleged coup. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that his government could turn its attention to cutting tax after a fall in inflation. Sunak said that cutting taxes was the government's top priority. He also clarified that he would not implement the kind of unfunded tax cuts that his predecessor Liz Truss had announced last year. He was speaking ahead of a budget update later this week, when British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt is expected to announce measures to speed up the country's stagnant economy.
So now you can trust me when I say that we can start to responsibly cut taxes. And we will now move to the next phase of our plan to grow our economy by reducing debt, cutting tax and rewarding hard work, building domestic sustainable energy, backing British business, and delivering world-class education. You can trust me to take the right long-term decisions, and that's how we'll build a brighter future for all our children.
Well, that's all from me here in a blustery Washington, D.C. Back now to Tanvi in the studio in New Delhi.
You take care of yourself, Kate. Thank you for joining us. Kate Fisher joining us from Washington, D.C. Now, let's give you news of the workers that are trapped in a tunnel in Uttarakhand, as 41 workers are still trapped inside the partially collapsed Silkyara tunnel in Indian northern state of Uttarakhand. The government has laid a new 6-inch pipeline for around 40 meters in order to better deliver food and water to the trapped workers. The government has also announced to take up a 5-option action plan for their safe evacuation. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is constantly monitoring the evacuation. He also called Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami, and took stock of the situation. Prime Minister Modi has assured the availability of necessary rescue equipment by the central government to the state. This is the 3rd time the Prime Minister has taken information about the situation from the Chief Minister. The Prime Minister Office team has also inspected the spot and is continuously monitoring the situation and undertaking coordination work to rescue the workers safely. Further, the president of the International Tunnelling and Underground Space Association, Professor Arnold Dix, arrived at the Silkyara tunnel as the operation to rescue the trapped workers is underway. He also offered prayers at a temple that is built at the main entrance of this tunnel.
Looking very positive. That's why we've come here with all of the experts. I've got the best experts for this Himalayan geology here with me. I'm just one. And we're going back to the office to talk about what we've seen, and we need to compare what we've seen here above the tunnel with what we know is happening in the tunnel. And this actually helps us make the proper decision, because we are rescuing those 41 men, and we are not letting anyone get hurt while they're doing it. But to do that, we must be very careful.
You're watching DD India Global. We're heading for a short break, still to come on the show. Even as worries about his age weigh on his re-election prospects, US President Joe Biden turns 81 today. Indian actress Madhuri Dixit honoured with a special recognition for her work in Hindi cinema at the 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India in Goa.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. And now we take you
to Goa, where the 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India has kick-started just a while ago. Indian Minister of Information and Broadcasting Anurag Singh Thakur inaugurated the largest South Asian film market called the Film Bazaar. Addressing the gathering at the event, Anurag Singh Thakur said India is one of the largest filmmaking countries in the world, and the International Film Festival of India is Asia's biggest film festival.
It comes as no surprise that the Indian media and entertainment industry, with an annual growth of, can you guess, 3%, 5%, 8%? The annual growth rate is 20%, and the market is hailed at 5th largest and most globalized industry in the world.
And at the star-studded opening ceremony of 54th edition of IFFI, India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur announced that for the first time, the original content creators in over-the-top, that's OTT cinema, will be honoured in this year's edition.
For the first time, and from here on, IFFI will bestow an award titled Best Web Series OTT Award, which will acknowledge and honor the transformative role of the original content creators in India, celebrating their contribution to the employment and innovation.
So this 9-day cinematic extravaganza in Goa kick-started with the international premiere of the film Catching Dust, the thriller drama by award-winning British filmmaker Stuart Gatt. It also stars Erin Moriarty, Jay Courtney and Dina Shihabe. Also, Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting Dr. L. Murugan graced the red carpet along with the star cast and spoke about the uniqueness of the Film Bazaar.
So this 54th edition is, you are seeing here, Film Bazaar is main thing, and this opening film, and apart from that market, and 75 young minds is there, and story, picking the stories also is there. And this time one ship also is going in the acid, that also we are going to inauguration. And this year is a very big inauguration. Cinemela, the new thing is Cinemela also is there. So this is the festival, every year is improving, and every year new things we are adding in this. So this is the festival people are expecting, and there is a very joy moment.
Now, news of the Indian film icon Madhuri Dixit, who graced cinema screens with her unparalleled talent for the last 4 incredible decades. The Indian actress was honoured with a special recognition for her work in Hindi cinema at the 54th edition of IFFI. Indian Minister Anurag Singh Thakur conferred the award to her at the 54th International Film Festival of India. Listen in to what she said.
IFFI is ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म जहाँ पे सिर्फ हिंदी फिल्म नहीं, पैन इंडिया फिल्म्स दिखाई जाती हैं, इंटरनेशनल फिल्म्स दिखाई जाती हैं, और द बेस्ट ऑफ द बेस्ट पीपल कम हियर. सो ऑफ कोर्स आई एम ऑनर्ड दैट आई एम हियर एंड आई एम गोइंग टू परफॉर्म ऑन द प्लेटफॉर्म. आई एम वेरी ऑनर्ड. बहुत गर्व महसूस कर रही हूँ क्योंकि इतने साल काम किया है इंडस्ट्री में, और जब भी किसी आर्टिस्ट की सराहना की जाती है या ऐसे अवार्ड्स दिए जाते हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स खुशी होती है कि और अच्छा काम करना है, प्रोत्साहित होते हैं हम, और वही हो रहा है. आई विल ट्राई to do better and better work in the future.
Moving on to other news now from India. Massive fire engulfed at least 25 boats in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh at Visakhapatnam. The fire that started with the first boat eventually spread to multiple boats, which led to severe damage to the region. Soon, the blaze was brought under control. Authorities reported that the vessels caught fire, but luckily, other boatsmen came and de-anchored that boat and let it off into the sea. Investigations are underway into the accident.
One of the ships actually caught fire. Luckily, the other boatsmen, they came and cut it off, de-anchored it, and then let it off into the sea. Towards the end, the Navy ship Sahara also came and they assisted us, and because of them, we could get the fire under control. That is what is the incident about, and there is no loss of life at the outset, and then only about 25 to 30 ships have got gutted, and we are investigating the cause of the incident further.
Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman inaugurated the World Heritage Week celebrations of Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, at Tamil Nadu's Madurai. Today, the week-long exhibition is showcasing history, architecture, iconography and inscriptions of the major rock-cut temples in South Tamil Nadu. The major attraction on display are the historic architectures of India, showcasing the legacy of Indian culture. And Indian President Draupadi Murmu inaugurated the 36th Annual Conference and Literary Festival of All India Santali Writers Association in Baripada, a city in the Indian eastern state of Odisha. While addressing the literary festival, the Indian President emphasized how Indian literature plays an impactful role in shaping the society. As the United Arab Emirates prepares to host the upcoming COP28 summit, the nation is spotlighting its progressive environmental efforts with a particular focus on Botanica, the world's largest vertical farm. This revolutionary approach for substantial water savings will reduce the water consumption level up to 95% compared to traditional outdoor farming, and it will also contribute to a significant reduction of 1,000 megawatt in water production. Botanica's presence shows UAE's dedication towards green initiatives during the upcoming summit. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. US President Joe Biden turned 81 today, a milestone that is likely to draw attention to his status as the oldest person to ever occupy the Oval Office. If re-elected, Biden would be 86 by the end of his second term in office. Ronald Reagan, who held the prior record as the oldest US president, ended his second four-year term at the age of 77 back in 1989. Argentines celebrated the victory of libertarian Javier Milei as their new president, winning with nearly 56% votes against his rival Sergio Massa, who scored 44% of the total votes. Milei has been handed over an economy battered by triple-digit inflation, looming recession and rising poverty. The front-runner in Taiwan's presidential race has picked long-term de facto ambassador to the United States as his vice presidential candidate. This move would likely bolster support among backers of his ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Colombian pop star Shakira has reached a settlement deal to avoid a trial in Barcelona over charges that she failed to pay $15.7 million in Spanish income tax between 2012 and 2014. As part of the deal, she accepted the charges and a fine of 50% of the amount owed. Shakira went on trial with prosecutors seeking a jail term of over 8 years for the Grammy-winning singer. And next we take you to Hong Kong, where the first Frozen-themed land officially opened its gates to the public at the Hong Kong Disney Resort. Visitors from around the world, including the United States, Japan and Korea, lined up early at the World of Frozen entrance, where Elsa and Anna welcomed them. The attraction is a recreation of Arendelle, the hometown of Anna and Elsa from Disney's blockbuster Frozen movie franchise. So with that, it's a wrap in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram at DD India Live. You can also find us online at ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.